Gone are the days of having to fly to Melbourne just for a 1-hour meeting. Well, I think the flexibility that the world has basically given us, and this is really accepted not just industry-wide, but also with the clinicians. So working in clinical operations, I guess my biggest stakeholder is the hospitals and the clinicians that run our trials. And everyone has really adopted this flexible mentality. So, gone are the days of having to fly to Melbourne just for a 1-hour meeting. You can have this done remotely, and it's not seen as a backup option. It's really probably the preference nowadays. So I think the flexibility has been the thing that I've adapted to or had to adapt to the most. Had to be a lot more creative with how we do things. A big part of clinical trials is actually going to the site and verifying the data really face-to-face to make sure that actually what is in your global database truly reflects what is at the hospital. And we can't, we're starting to be able to do that in Australia now, but we couldn't do that at the height of COVID. So we had to be really creative in terms of how we have the confidence in accepting and validating the data that we're seeing. We've had to build hubs that are safe to be able to house our patients' data so that people can't break into them and what have you. We've had to really reevaluate our data privacy contingencies and what have you, because we're doing things really differently. We're emailing sensitive data. So we've had to be really creative in terms of how we validate the data. But it's also, I guess, made the company in general be a bit more creative in how we collect the data as well. So are there ways that we can use our digital technologies, be it collecting data straight from the patient's home with patient-reported outcome devices, tablets, or what have you, sending nurses to the patient's home. So it's made the industry in general very flexible and creative on how they do things. Well, I'm excited to continue placing clinical trials in Australia and New Zealand. I definitely am excited to see, how that can potentially translate to better patient outcomes. How can we really utilize our technologies to make life a bit easier for our patients, and particularly very vulnerable patients that might have neurological diseases where traveling is actually quite difficult, or really unwell patients. So I'd like to think that because of COVID, everyone has really adapted to this virtual world. I'd like to see how that can benefit patients moving forward. It's all about the patients. And for me, for ClinOps, it's providing early access to medications where patients would otherwise not have any access to it. Perhaps it's not available in their country. Perhaps there's just no other option for them. So for me, definitely working in this industry, it's the patients and providing early access to medication.